The other way.
Hey, cousin Patricia. Thanks for joining. We're kind of waiting for our daughter cellist to join us for this session.
Cousin Patricia, you staying cool in New York? It wasn't too bad today. They said it's going to be worse, I think, Friday and Saturday.
Hey, Sharon. I hope everything is cool in Canada. How's the weather in Canada? What temperatures are you guys experiencing up there? So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, very hot in Canada. So what's very hot in Canada, Sharon? Is that like 75, 40?
40.
Yeah, probably Celsius. Is it Celsius? That's normally higher. So all right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, Cellist will join us soon. Kind of muggy. Okay. And I think we saw Kamira joined us.
Hey, Q.
Hey, Q. Okay, so for you guys who don't know us and haven't been following our channel, I am Julian.
And I'm Nydia.
And we are all in the family. And we started this page to hopefully help inspire, people by telling our story as to some things that are possible, and just to let people know that your life is based on your goals and not anybody else's. So if somebody tells you you can't do it, well, you tell them that teenage kids can do it, that you can do it too. So just to let you guys know that we are in July, and this is 30 years that I've been knowing Nini.
Yep.
And we've been dating for 30 years now, and we've been married for
22.
22. Yeah, so she had to do the math real quick. Hey, cousin John, we have Maryland in the house, so we have Carmel, we have Connecticut
Carmel.
in the house, we have Canada in the house, we have New York in the house. We thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, it can be romantic most of the time. So let's go ahead and get started. So real estate, the good, the bad, the ugly of real estate. So just to give you guys some background, I think if you guys been following the channel, you already know that I got introduced to real estate when I was pretty much on my, I was facing death. I was on my deathbed. I had a blood clot in the leg, and I was laid up in the hospital for 11 days. Was it 10 days or 11 days? 10 or 11 days. It was over a week. Couldn't move, bedridden. Had to shower in the, had to take a bed bath, which is something I never experienced, especially as a young person. But so during that time, I had a lot of time to watch TV. So when I was watching TV, I kept seeing this infomercial, and the infomercial was Carlton Sheets. So if you guys are familiar with Carlton Sheets, you know he had an infomercial that came on almost every hour on the hour in the daytime, and he was a real estate guru. And the more that I watched those videos, the infomercials, the more that I got intrigued about real estate, because I had also tried other businesses in the past. I tried the carpet cleaning business. I tried a window cleaning business. I tried a windshield repair business. What other businesses did I?
Did we do the carpet cleaning?
I did the carpet cleaning, the window cleaning,
the glass repair.
The glass repair. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm like a serial entrepreneur, right? So what happened was I kind of got tired of going through phases of trying to become an entrepreneur, and then I started looking at real estate, and I said, well, this seems like something I can stick to. So when I started investigating real estate, one thing that came across to me was the one thing Carlton Sheets was always says is that more millionaires were created through real estate than any other investment vehicle in the world. And then he talked about how you can leverage real estate and all of that good stuff. So I said, okay, well, this might be something up my alley. So this was back in 1997. However, because of fear, I guess, we didn't get started in real estate until 2002. So it's 5 years later. So I had ordered Carlton's course the first time. I opened it up, got scared, sent it back, got my money back. And at this time, I think his course was maybe $150. So I sent it back, got my money back. And then when I got out of the hospital and started watching the infomercials more and more, I said, you know what, this time I'm going to keep the course. I ordered the course, kept it, and listened to it. I listened to the CDs over and over again at work. And the ideas that came out of that course just is what kind of put us on, because he had ideas that pretty much talked about no money down, no money out of your pocket, which was great for us because we didn't have any money. So it always helps to have no money down when you don't have money. And he had a lot of creative ideas in that course. So Carlton Sheets, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're still alive, but if you're not, I can tell you I'm forever grateful for your course. If anybody's watching this and you guys can get a hold of any Carlton Sheets paraphernalia on YouTube or anything, I highly suggest it, because I don't think the principles have changed much to that course. However, don't stop at Carlton Sheets, because if I didn't stop at Carlton Sheets, I have Robert G. Allen's No Money Down. We told you guys about Landlording on Autopilot, which is a book that I still have now. And that book that I have now is giving me a whole bunch of ideas to be able to continue to control our real estate investments that are in Connecticut, from Baltimore, from the Maryland area. So, you know, it helps to read. So
hold on a second.
You guys, is she there?
You have to turn that on.
Okay, so I think I mentioned to you guys that Chellis is going to be coming into the video. That in her. Okay. Hey, baby
Hi,
girl.
everyone. Hello.
Hey, Chalice. Hey, baby girl. How was your day?
It was long.
It was long. Okay. So, I was just giving them some background, Chell, on how we got started in real estate, and some of the books that we were reading. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to join this session is because we were just talking about real estate on Sunday morning. I know you had some questions, and maybe, you know, you can maybe repeat those questions, because the people that are watching may have similar questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So continuing with the background, like I said, they said that they were more millionaires created through real estate. So I'm thinking, I'm buying into this, more millionaires are created through real estate. And what I didn't understand about what millionaire meant, because one thing about money is when people hear that somebody's a billionaire or a millionaire, they think that it's cash. And back then, I too thought it was cash, but it's really what you look like on paper. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be a millionaire cash money versus being on paper. And, I mentioned to you guys before about how our money is kind of not real money because it's kind of on paper. It's more on paper, but we can leverage that to get some of the things that we like and do some of the things that we want to do. So fast forward, we bought our first house in 2001, and we thought, people were saying our first house that we lived in, this wasn't our first investment property, but we kind of thought it was an investment because people would always tell us that the house is going to appreciate X amount a year. So you jump into the house and, after a while, especially in Connecticut, the stock in Connecticut is an older stock. Most of the, we had bought our house, it was like a 1986 house, which seemed fairly new in 2002 compared to the rest of the stock in Connecticut. Most of the stock in Connecticut is probably at least 1950s or older. So having a house built in 1986 was like the best thing because we thought we had a brand new house, and it was fairly small. So, but it was something that we called our own. It was our first thing. It was our starter home, and our starter home was in an area that had a bunch of older people. Like our neighbors were retired or getting ready to retire. So we thought we were doing it, right?
It was 1896, right?
What was 1896?
You said the house, when the house was built?
No, 1986.
Okay.
Briar Lane was 1986.
Okay.
That house?
Yeah.
Do you know what year 1896 is? So so the neighborhood that we lived in was like we thought we was doing it. Our neighbors were older. We were like the youngest in the neighborhood, and I was still learning about real estate. So the following year, we had Jylen, our final daughter. So with me having the side hustle and the blood and understanding that the kids got to get fed, that's when I kind of made up the mind to go ahead into real estate. So the first investment property that we bought was a foreclosure out in New Britain, Connecticut. It was a two-family property. We picked it up real cheap, and we did the work on it. First, we started out trying to get a contractor to do it. So for all you guys who watch Flip This House and all of that good stuff, okay, thanks for joining, Sharon. Take care. Have fun in Canada. So all you guys that watch Flip This House, real life is a little bit different than TV, okay? Especially when it comes to contractors. So you guys that so contractors, the C-O-N, there's a reason why there's con in contractors, okay? Because a lot of those guys are cons. And I don't know how many homeowners are on the line that have to get people to come in, plumbers or carpenters or what have you. But a lot of those guys, they'll come to your house. If they'll come at all, they'll give you a bid, and then half the time they'll do half-ass work, or if they don't do half-ass work, they're not going to show up at all. They'll go to Home Depot, they'll drop all the stuff off in the front yard, and then they won't show up again. But because of us being closing on that property and being tied into a 30-year mortgage, we couldn't let contractors stop us. Okay, so what ended up happening is we hired one guy, and the guy wasn't showing up because everything has a timeline when you're on other people's money, and that's the best way to buy real estate is always for other people's money and to leverage other people's money. So we're on the timeline with other people's money, and on top of that, we're trying to get tenants into the property and trying to figure out how to cash flow. So are you guys that say cash is king, cash flow is king, at least in the real estate investment game when you're talking longevity. So we're trying to figure out how to get this thing to cash flow. We're trying to fix it up. We're trying to get tenants in. And this guy is pussyfooting around while we got money on the line. And we're like, okay, it's not his money, of course, so why should he care? So we ended up firing that guy. And when we fired him, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. So me being the type of person I am, and coming from a background of, my grandfather was always good with his hands, and my family were always good with their hands. I wasn't afraid to look in and start touching things. So what ended up happening is, with the help of Nini, we ended up finishing that house ourselves, and we were gone like every weekend from our kids. So it wasn't as glorious as flip this house. Okay. So, and that was the first property. However, on the bright side, we got it done. Thank you for your help on getting it done. And we ended up getting a second property. But when we got that one done, fast forward years later, we sold that one for about 160,000. We had paid about 57,000, so we had ended up getting like 100,000 off of that property. Okay, so that was like the greatest thing, and we ended up getting the second property. Well, child, that's how we still pay for some of your education. Okay, you can't spend all your money overnight because you got kids. Okay, so we bought. Did we buy a car? We bought a car.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Upgraded.
we upgraded. And on top of that, so this person here, she loves vacations, right? And I was always working. So, and hey, Beedle, by the way, shouts out to Beedle, Connecticut's in the building. So I was always working on the properties, and I'm very heads down, and I could care less about a vacation, but I didn't really pay attention to her feelings about vacation. So she was talking about taking a vacation, and I was just like, whatever, what is a vacation? Plus, if you guys go back to, the second video, that my background is in the projects, and when you come from the projects, you really don't take vacations, right? So when she was talking vacations, I was just like, what is a vacation? And then eventually she turned me on to vacations, and we ended up being able to, thanks to the real estate, is take vacations that some people dream about, and we can pretty much pay these vacations off with cash, and no problem. So real estate is a blessing, but you have to be built for it. You know what I'm saying? Because of course you have to evict people. I remember our first eviction was in that first house that we talked about, and because we were younger at the time, we were still going to the club and to the bars, and we would see our tenants that owed us rent at the club. So we're just like, you owe us rent, you're at the club, and this is something odd about it. But we were very nice about it. But that following week, we ended up going to the marshal's office, serving her papers, and started the eviction process. What I learned about real estate, and I don't want to sound disrespectful to women, but women, I love you guys, and a lot of you guys have this aura about you. When you put your makeup on, you look awesome. But this particular tenant, she had that aura, but when we evicted her, her house was otherwise. So I'm talking mattresses were pissy. The kids' rooms were just a total mess. The carpets were just total pissy. And, I think it's my fault for not doing inspections to the houses as often to make sure that they were keeping them up to standards. But I was just shocked at how nasty some folks can be. So is it a nightmare being a landlord? Not really. It's just part of the game. Okay, I'm just going to call it part of the game, because what that taught me was to come home and then make sure that my house is sparkling clean and spick and come on, child. Now you know where it came from, right? Now you know why I'm so adamant about having a clean house. Because when you go there and you see such a horrible mess like that, it makes you wake up real quick. So after we evicted her, you start all over again. The benefits of rental property compared to your personal residence is tax benefits. Okay, so when we were our ordinary income, when we were making a little less money, we were able to get all types of write-offs from tax benefits for rental property, which is something you cannot do with your primary residence. Okay, so when we were getting all of these tax benefits, we would get pretty good tax returns on top of that. So we were able to do some pretty decent things. However, fast forward a couple more properties later. Hey, cousin Keisha. A couple more properties later, Obama became president. And I know that we said in the first live that we weren't going to talk about politics, but I have to let you guys know this because it's not really political. It's like a business thing for us. So fast forward, Obama became president. And what Obama did is he incorporated a tax law saying that if you made over a certain amount of money, you could no longer write off these passive losses, okay, which stung us. That absolutely stung us because when we went to our accountant and can you get that? I don't know what it is. Okay, so we went to our accountant and he explained it to us when we were just like, how come we're getting so little back in our tax returns? He was just like, well, Obama incorporated this new tax law, and I can tell you, I was heated. I was totally heated. I don't know. How'd you feel about that? Did it matter?
Did we owe that year?
I think we did owe that year.
Yeah, we did.
So that's another thing. Continue. You got it. You can make good money, but you also have to save your money. So it's not necessarily how much you make. It's kind of how much you save. Okay. So so you have anything you want to add? Mm-mm. Okay, so what real estate has taught me how to do electrical work without a license. It's taught me and her how to do sheetrock. So if you need some sheetrock done, you can also call on her, right? So it taught me how to do plumbing, and it taught me to really let go of my fear, and it taught me how to commit. And when you're trying to become successful at anything, you need to commit. You need to put your head down and commit. So if I had to do it all again, I'm going to say I think that I wouldn't have bought my primary residence first. I think I would have bought a rental property first, and I would have maximized any leverage that I could into a multifamily of 3 units or better. But based on what I know now, is you want to go commercial in order to have those benefits. So when you guys are asking for, like, and again, I'm not trying to get political, but somebody like Donald Trump's tax returns, you have to remember that Donald Trump doesn't really have any ordinary income. So you can't really expect a tax return out of Donald Trump because he doesn't have a job. You know what I'm saying? So these are the pluses of real estate. So with him not having a job and him most likely following the tax code as the tax law is written, he's most likely getting all types of benefits that most average people don't understand that he's getting. And it's the same thing with people like Amazon that follow the tax code, and McDonald's, because McDonald's is not only in the restaurant business, McDonald's is in the real estate business. So whenever you go home from a McDonald's, most likely that McDonald's is going to be on the right-hand side of where you're coming from and on the left-hand side of where you're going to. So for instance, if you work for a major corporation, most likely depending on where you come from, most likely when you're going to that major corporation, McDonald's is going to be on the left-hand side, which is out of your way. They don't want to serve you breakfast, but they know on the way home that you're going to be on the right-hand side. So not only are you going to buy for yourself, you're also going to buy for your family, which increase their profits, but they also have to make sure that they have prime real estate. So McDonald's is also in the real estate business as well, the hamburger business, and that's how they're able to initially sell like, what, 59-cent hamburgers back in the day? Uh-huh. So McDonald's is also in the real estate business. So through our real estate travels, we did a couple flips, and we basically own a few rental units up in Connecticut. So the flips are the ones that I think she liked the most because we didn't have to keep them. Mm-hmm. Which means, she, and the thing, that's another thing while I'm on it, is having a wife who is bilingual and having property in New Britain is the best of both worlds, because what I found out is there's still people who do not speak Spanish, who do not speak English, who are from Puerto Rico. And she came in and she was able to articulate it. And when your tenants have that common ground with you as a landlord, when they see her and they feel real comfortable. I mean, the last tenant we had for almost 16 years. And I'm pretty sure it was because she and my mother-in-law would go by the property and they would love to see them and had that common ground versus being people who couldn't communicate with them and have that rapport with them. So rapport is very important. So
Don't forget my dad.
and,
I think they
and
liked my dad.
yeah, and her dad, and I still tease her about it. I say her dad, that one of the tenants' moms was trying to get with her dad, and she refused to believe it, especially when my father-in-law bought his Mustang. So, all right. So, anything you want to add?
No.
What was your best deal?
I think the best one was the condo
Which condo?
in Hartford.
Merrill Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Chalice, now you can ask the questions that you had on Sunday.
Well, I asked you how you analyze properties because there's a lot of ways people like to analyze their properties.
Okay, great question. Great question. And I almost forgot to cover that. So when we initially started, the way that I analyzed the properties is I said to myself, let's just say the house cost $50,000, and I said, well, the mortgage is going to be like, what is it, 1% or 10% of that? So it's going to be $500 a month. So if it's a $50,000 property, the mortgage most likely to cover taxes, insurance, and all of that stuff is going to be about $500, which means I have to be able to have at least one unit cover that $500 for me, and then another unit have $500 or more. So what that means is that the mortgage is paid for, and then the other one is going to cover things like the water bills and maybe some additional repairs, and then anything above and beyond that is cash flow. So you want to try your best to make sure that the property is cash flow positive. And that's on a rental property. When it comes to a flip, there's a formula for flips that you use, and then when you start getting towards the end of the flip, you notice that formula kind of goes out of the window. So the formula for the flip is you normally take 65% of what they call the ARV, and the ARV is the after repair value, and then you subtract the repairs, and then that gives you what they call MAO, which is your maximum allowable offer. So, for instance, if the house is $100,000, and then you have, say, $25,000 in repairs, well, now you're down to $75,000. Then you multiply 65% of that $75,000, and whatever that is what you can offer. Okay, and you can put those offers in. However, when you, again, especially if you're leveraging other people's money, you're on a certain time frame. Most flips have like a 6-month time frame between the time that you close on a property and the time that you want to get the property sold. Otherwise, you have to refinance out of that property. So when you do Mayo, and then you have contractors, again, Shelby, before you join, we're talking about contractors, con. If these people show up to your job site and they pussyfooting around and they're not getting the work done, well, that throws your Mayo out of the window pretty much instantly because, hey, Thelma, so if that's going to throw your Mayo out of the window, then it's almost like you look around and say, what did you do all of this for? Mm-hmm. But thank goodness, the route that we took, other than, a couple condos and smaller deals, we decided to do multifamily. So whenever we refinanced out, we always had a way to create cash flow on the back end. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions, baby girl?
Would you ever own your own single family again for your primary residence?
Me personally, it depends. Okay, like for instance, if I won the lottery, if I won Powerball, possibly yes, but I would have multiple. But because of especially our current situation now, I find it better to be mobile because after living in our house in Bloomfield, you were there when we did all of the fix up and the renovations before we sold the house, and you saw how much we put into that house compared to when we bought it, and we didn't get the money back out of that house. Okay, and actually, we brought money to the table to close on that house, which is kind of like wrenching when you think about it. So, um, I'm once bitten, twice shy, but I'm going to say it depends. Most likely, I would not buy my own house again. I don't know about you. What do you think?
I mean, I think it depends. Like we talked about maybe Baltimore, where they're doing like a lot of regentrification. So if you were to buy something and not stay there as long as we did and kind of sell it for a profit, maybe. But I like the fact that we're mobile. So if you move to Miami, child, and we really like
Huh?
it,
We can
then we're coming to live with you.
we can we,
Um,
we
Or
can.
next door, maybe.
Yeah, we can get up and come, and so being mobile is an absolute plus, and um, especially that it was about 40 years before I got out of Connecticut, and part of that was because of some of the things that we were tied down to. One of them being a house, and having that commitment to a house that we had to continue to have. But I mean, real estate is not something that you really should have emotions around and fall in love with. Is really something, is a box over your head. And for the most part, until you as a millennial should know probably more than I do, but it's about getting up and going and trying to enjoy your life and live your best life instead of being tied down. Whereas I'm pretty sure a lot of old school thinking is buy your house and get a good job and stay where you are. But being able to get up and go is probably one of the best things that I currently enjoy.
and I think that's something that I've been learning because over time, I think a lot of people my age, even though a lot of us don't want to and we take more time, there's still a lot of pressure to get a house to make it seem like you're leveling up, I guess, like you're taking the next step, you're going in the right path. But me living in so many different locations since moving out on my own, I like that I'm just able to be like, all right, I'm out, and at the same time, like hearing that you don't always get money from appreciation and the money that you put in, even if you were to buy and try to sell, because that's what a lot of people end up saying when you kind of bring up the fact that, well, you're not making money off it, so is it really an asset? And you can't just leave. They're like, well, I'll always sell it, but they don't realize how long sometimes it could take for a house to get sold, even on the market. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if you have an
if
example of how
if at
long the
all.
longest. Yeah.
Well, I do have an example because do you remember the Spanish kids that lived around the corner from us? They had the beige house. I don't want to say the street name, but they had all the boys at the house,
I
and
think so.
and I don't want to say the name, but there was like
They had a pool in the back.
yeah, they had
Yeah,
a
yeah,
pool
yeah.
pool in the back. It was that beige house, and they had like a camper
Oh,
on the
yes,
side.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so they put that house for sale, and it didn't sell.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, not only so, and that was maybe 2 years ago, and it didn't sell. So that I don't, they're still there. So and that's an example of how long it can take to sell a house. Basically, it may not sell at all. So for whatever reason, that house didn't sell.
So for a young person like me or even younger looking to get into real estate, what would you suggest for them to do? Like how to get into it? They might
Education,
have low,
education, education,
if they have low cash and need to figure
education.
out.
Education, education, education. Because what's going to happen when you get that education is that education is going to teach you to be creative. So, and the education that you're going to be going for is very specialized to real estate. So it's not like, you're going to college for real estate. You're going to basically some of these what they call RIAs, real estate investment associations, and you're finding out who's the big dogs, and you're trying to like find mentors and leech off of them. And in the meantime, you go to bed at night and you be creative. Like I mentioned before you joined the session, was Carlton Sheets, and listening to Carlton Sheets over and over again. When I was at work, and trying to really figure it out, it forced us to be creative, and being creative is how we got our first property.
But they have to have a certain mindset too, like with your budget. A lot of young kids you see, they're just every weekend is just throwing money. They're not thinking about
Longer term.
longer term or saving, or it's just like, what did I get in my check this week? And I could use all of this money. You got to save and invest in something. You've got to have that, what do they call it? You got to have like that,
Kitty, that
yeah,
that
like
that
so
rainy day
much
fund.
money saved in order to be able to show, that you're able to do this and you're going to do the right thing.
Yeah, and another thing that I would suggest is the sooner you get started, the better. I wouldn't wait. If you can, the sooner you can be creative, the sooner you can get your education. I mean, there's so much stuff. When we started, we didn't have the internet like the internet is now. Okay, there was no YouTube to show me how to really repair stuff. So get the education, start as soon as possible, learn as much as you can, understand that there's going to be ups and downs, and that's what makes people successful. And sticking to it is what makes people successful. There's tons of books out there. Don't think that you're going on. It's like you're the first one to start. What's going on, Zimmer? Don't be the first. Don't think you're the first one to start investing in real estate and not go out there and get your education. I mean, there's tons of books on Amazon. There's tons of books at the library. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a book called Landlord on Autopilot, and that book helped immensely to help us still be able to control the real estate from afar. So definitely get the education, invest in your education. If you don't have much money, invest in your education, and which shouldn't be too expensive. And just get your books and do your reading, and just don't be afraid to jump in. I'm going to tell you, like a lot of the what's wrong?
Rob, Joker. What's a
Library.
library?
So a lot of the rumors, like people when we first started this, people used to be like, "Are you sure you want to be a landlord? There's so many headaches for the landlord." I mean, granted, it's a business. I mean, when you go to work, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's headaches at your job that you go through, but you have to go through the headaches at your job day in, day out for 40 hours a week versus real estate. When your units are set, you're set. So that makes a big difference.
I know that I've been looking into the book that I was reading, and I talked to you about house hacking
Yeah.
and how that can, help people who might have not 20% of 100,000 or something, whatever the case may be, and how that works for somebody to get into.
House hacking is a way. Um, hold on.
Sorry.
Mom's playing with the
I
mom's
feel
playing with
like
the
we look
video.
so dark.
Maybe this because
The
it's getting
sun
ready
is
to
setting.
rain. So house hacking is a way to do it. I I thought about it, even because I think I know some guys that did it, and they seem like they made very well. I know some guys used to do it back in the day when times were getting good, like in 2005, 2000 to 2008. That they used to do a lot of what they call equity stripping. So they would go in and kind of fix up the place and then refinance out of it and let the house go into foreclosure. And yeah,
Wow.
but I mean, what's wrong with foreclosure when you leaving with a $70,000 to $100,000 check in their mind, right? Because and I don't know what they're doing with it, but I know some of them were spending it definitely on cars and among other things, trips and all of that stuff. But I mean, guys were going in and banks were still giving out money to people who could just, all they had to do is fog a mirror, and if you was alive and breathing, you were still able to get a loan. So. Anything else?
You're looking forward to going house hunting with me?
Yes, I am. So
Whips and trips.
whips and trips. Yeah, that's pretty much, Rob. That's pretty much what happens. Whips and trips, but you got to do it the right way, right? So, Chelis, I think you have an advantage compared to probably some of these other kids, is because you do have parents that's been through the fire, and we know the laws. We know the eviction laws. We know, some of the other laws now, and especially some of the things that we're even going through today, that we can help when it comes to multifamily, because we understand how fire laws change and, all of that good stuff. So, and plus, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were on the call earlier, but talking about contractors is you do have your dad that can come in and help do some fix up because, and your mom that can do some sheetrock. So,
She is not coming.
so your mom can do some sheetrock and your dad can do some electrical and some
Yes, I
plumbing,
do, Rob.
with, without a permit. So, are you looking forward to getting involved? Is the question. I mean, do you think that you were built for the game?
Um, Listen, the breaking of fingers and stuff. My dad gets real deep into it. I could do what mom did. The rest you're gonna have, it's gonna figure a way out. I'm gonna figure a way out. But yeah, I think it's definitely something I want to get into. Especially, I think that's one of the reasons that I was kind of going on the path that I was in terms of not looking to getting really anything here because I knew I wanted to move. And if I'm going to get another residence, it would be nice to have it in a house hacking way just so that I can get my foot in there and you got to let me fly. I got to try. You know how I am.
You can house hack in a 4 family, right?
I
You can
figured that
house
much,
hack.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you can house hack in the probably a 6. You can probably house hack in a 12 family if you can get a 12 family.
I
So
mean, as long as I got y'all OPM.
it don't, or anybody else's for that matter, because it comes down to a lot of other people's OPM. I mean, that's right now we have OPMs of people we don't even know. So
But I think that it would be good. This is the long term that I want us to get a big property somewhere nice and warm. It doesn't have to be the islands, but then we just put a bunch of our houses on there, and we all live on that one big property.
we have to live somewhere where it has those tax benefits. I
Okay,
mean
well we're gonna have to figure it out.
that's part of the name of the game is like tax benefits. I mean, when people go back and they look at owning their own property versus owning investment property, and they see what benefits they don't get. Granted, you might get some interest, but you like when you buy paint, when you buy when you do plumbing or anything electrical, anything that goes wrong, those are write-offs to us. Even though we may not get those passive losses right away anymore, it's our understanding that when we do decide to sell, that it will come off the capital gains.
Sorry, Thelma, I'm not sure.
Rob said 12 families big, I guess.
Yeah, 12 family. I mean, it comes down to a lot of doors, Rob. I mean, doors are important in the game. Especially when you're looking for cash flow. Doors are important to the game because you want to go commercial. Like I mentioned probably before you join the session is you want those tax benefits. You want to be able to write off as much of your ordinary income as possible, and going commercial, which is 5 doors or more. That's the way to go, and make sure that you have an accountant that's not afraid to go up against a tax man.
And as a tenant, I've been a tenant of only commercial buildings. I don't know if y'all remember, but all the buildings I've had have over 12 doors, and I think that's definitely an advantage for me as a tenant because I know I had the best of times and the worst of times as a tenant, and dealing with different property managers and things like that. Go big or go home, Rob. Texas. When you've been listening to Robert in your sleep.
Yeah. Hey, Zimmer. I mean, I agree with you, but like I mentioned earlier, because of the way that Obama changed the game, if you can go as big as you can off the jump, and you can get decent property management, because this goes back to we're joking around about sheetrock and all of that stuff. If you can get somebody decent to work for you, you can employ a great property manager. You'll be good to go, and which means you won't really have to lift a finger, and all you have to do is just worry about the cost from a property manager when they're saying that they need more money to take care of repairs or anything like that. But you want to make sure, back to she was talking about having OPM, other people's money, that you have enough in your rainy day fund to take care of that.
So that's our next step. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, and finding these properties, they're like diamonds in the rough either way. So it's not like you should really go in and pay full retail for a 12 unit. And I mean, there's other ways to actually get units that are over 6 units, and there's things called a master lease option, the MLO, that when landlords are fed up, she can slide in that way as long as the credit is good, and start taking over that way, and keep the loan or whatever in the landlord's name, and just have the master lease option. So she can. The key thing is for her to be able to control the property in one way or another. Is really to be able to control the property. That's one of the keys with with being in real estate investing, is controlling the property.
Did you read what he said?
What do you think? With Master P, other people's money.
OPM.
I know.
Rob is old school.
He is funny.
So
And another thing, I don't know if you guys agree, is that I think a lot of my generation, and probably Q's generation too, is going to be a lot of renters.
so I think that's already happening, right? Because down here in Maryland, you can see clearly how much rental property that they're building from the ground up right now. I mean, it's just insane. And I know the last time that I came up to Connecticut, I noticed that in the downtown area, the downtown Hartford area, they were doing a lot of renovations, turning old office buildings into rental properties. And then on top of that, when you go out to like Windsor and Bloomfield, they were building rental properties from the ground up. So the demand is coming, and I don't know if it's something. It has to be something to do with the baby boomers, Gen X, and the millennials. We're basically all older at the same time right now, and we have to expand. So that's what they're doing, and people are. Zemmer, we're not talking over your head. Get Sophia on the call. So Sophia can probably help you. So with a lot of generations that's looking for places to stay, it's probably, and then you also have the generations like I know a lot of the baby boomers hit foreclosure, a lot of Gen X's hit foreclosure, so they're trying to they're once bitten twice shy. There's some people who are jumping back in and buying homes again, and there's some people that just like, what, they don't really think it's worth it.
So give us your best tenant and your worst tenant. No names.
How about nationalities?
Okay.
So worst tenant. Well, I don't know. You
Was
want
that
to
the
go?
third floor? Worst tenant?
The one with
She said don't say no
the
names.
Spanish ones,
Yeah.
or was it Chestnut second floor, the one that your mom helped take care of with all the cigarette butts?
Yeah. I don't. Well, how about the other ones?
Okay, so let's just say let's start with the worst. So the worst tenants, the worst tenants for in my opinion are the ones that I learn the most from. So they're the worst, but they're also probably the best, because when they play the game, you learn the laws better, which means for the next tenants that come in, you know better and you're well prepared. So they help you up your game. Okay, so with that being said, had to do that from afar, and sometimes moms don't let anybody mess with their cubs, so they have less than a heart, Rob. So it worked out. So the worst tenants that mom is referring to is some of the people that they decided that they didn't want to pay rent, so their best attempt was they called the city on us to have them come do an inspection of the property. And and unfortunately for them, the city is kind of they are up on what these tenants try to do. They don't sit there and try to penalize the landlord, because they know these tenants aren't trying to pay their rent, so they're trying to find a way out of paying their rent. So we did get a call from the city. We got a list of things to do, but the guy was extremely cool about it and getting it done. And then there was a couple times that we had even, the guy, the city inspector was like, well, I'll show up to the property with you to make sure that they let you into the unit, because they was giving us a hard time about getting into the unit. And he showed up with us. He saw the attitude, And he just shook his head, you know, and he said he said there was no way that he would go to court with them to help them get out of paying their rent. So, I mean, so that was a good time for me, but I guess that was the worst. The best tenants, so we had some good tenants turn sour, which is the tenants that been there 16 years, and they were pretty good, you know, initially for the first 10 years, and then I'm not sure what happened after the last six or whatever, but things kind of, you know, people change. Okay, so now we have, you know, a set of tenants that's been with us for about 5 years now, and they've been pretty good, and those are the ones that's on the first floor at Chestnut.
We had the young people too. They were pretty good.
Which young ones?
The ones that started off at the Beaver and then moved to.
Oh, yeah. But they were short lived.
Yeah, they wanted a bigger place, so
Yeah,
I don't think they wanted to rent anymore.
Well, they
Yeah.
did rent, but they moved to Bloomfield. There's on Section 8.
Okay.
There's on Section 8.
They moved to Bloomfield. I didn't see them in Bloomfield.
Yeah, they moved to Bloomfield. And they moved into a small house in Bloomfield.
Okay.
How many tenants have you guys had over the
Don't
years?
recall. I mean, every 7 years we get rid of our records. So we don't recall. I mean, it's been a few. I mean, it's been a few.
We had a hoarder,
A couple hoarders.
Couple.
like bad. No, that one was bad.
On which street?
Irwin.
Yeah, she
Dad used to be like, "I need you to come with me." I'm like, "I don't want to go in there.
yeah.
I do not want to go
Yeah,
in
so-
there."
so
I'll
we-
be like,
We did have a hoarder, and she had a dog, and the house would smell like urine. But I mean, she paid constantly. I mean, she was a. I think she
was
was a
good.
good tenant, but she
but
was just a
she
hoarder.
just had so much stuff. I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, and on top of that, the place was smaller too. So, you know, I'm not sure if she would have been able to, if she had a bigger space, if she would have been able to expand. But she was a hoarder. She had like computers that she never used.
Oh
You know,
I
my
think she
goodness.
should just pick stuff up when she was walking the dog and bring it back.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, like I said, if this was something that I had to deal with 40 hours a week, it would be different. But, you know, obviously it's something that we don't deal with 40 hours a week. When your units are set, you're set. You know, at the end of the day, when your units are set, you're set. So, but 40 hours a week at work, you got different personalities coming to you all day. You don't know what you're going to get. And then you, on top of that, you have to wake up and be there for 8 hours, and you can't really enjoy your best life. As you know, with the rental properties, I used to just do it. It was a weekend thing. You know what I'm saying? So I was spending maybe 4 hours a week. So these just for the record, these nightmares are based on 4 hours of work a week, which included me cutting the grass, making any repairs, and doing the property maintenance myself.
And it was more than that if we didn't have a good person to do the snow.
Yeah, we didn't have somebody to do the snow, which was good. But that goes with Connecticut, property in Connecticut,
Yeah.
though. Baltimore, they don't worry about it.
Yep.
So, anything else, baby girl?
Nope, that's it.
Well, we thank you guys for joining. If you guys have any questions about real estate, about flipping houses, and want to know the real deal, you guys can send us a private message or whatever. Jealous, I know you're going to be in touch.
Yes.
And Jealous, thank you for joining us on the call. So if you guys have any other questions about any of the previous lives that we did, feel free to reach out because we are here. If you guys have questions about intermittent fasting, if you guys have questions about failure, if you guys have questions about, I don't know, marriage, and if you guys have kids that want to know, how to count their blessings, your kids can get in touch with our kids and talk to them about how rough life really is. So so with that said, babe, do you have anything else?
I was gonna say if there's a mom out there you need somebody to talk to, just inbox me.
Yeah.
We all been there. You think you're doing the worst you could ever do. You just have those days sometimes.
Yeah, and also, if it's okay with you, if we can put it out there, that if there's any newlywed couples that's looking for mentoring, I'm up for it. I don't know if you're up for it, but or couples that are looking to get married, looking for mentoring. I'll be willing to take some time and help mentor some people because relationships are important, and
Yeah.
if we can help a relationship last longer than 30 days, and then I think we can say that we did part of our job, what we were sent here to do on this planet.
Yeah.
So
Or encourage if you need encouragement, or like I'm talking to the moms out there. Sometimes you get, I don't want to talk too much, but jealous on the line. So
What's that supposed to mean?
that's another live,
you get some
guys. This
teens who just want to do what they want to do sometimes,
this this live this live is about real estate. Let's not go into another live. So
But inbox us, let us know your questions, let us know if you have a topic you want us to discuss.
yeah, and I think next week, do you want to go into how we see the future for our kids, how we see things are changing? Do you want to go into that next week?
Sure.
Okay, so that next week, I think we talked about it in our first live that we're going to talk about how we see things changing for our kids going forward, and how it's important for us not to be tardy to the party on this one. So hopefully you guys can join that, and I think it'll be interesting, especially if you have kids that are younger than what 30 or younger, probably, or so it, cause, I mean it's just a different world for them. So we'll talk about that going forward. All right, so we love you guys. We thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good one.
you.
Bye, ciao.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.